Did you miss me? I missed you. So, let's begin today's story.
In my dreams, I'm a cop in a world where no one has died in 400 years. Part 1. Written by Reddit user CrazyGuz1.
My therapist says it's good to talk about my dreams. They're vivid and feel real in sense of time and place. They're serialized and always pick up night after night. I don't know what they mean about me or my life, and if there's anything to gain from them. But I feel like I'm living two lives now. Neither life is particularly good, but my dream life is so complicated. My dream self doesn't know of my waking self. But as I've learned more things about him, there are things I wish I could tell him. From his view, I will tell you what happened and what's been happening, but I have no idea what follows. I'm 53. I've married twice and have no children. For 30 years I've worked and studied as a historian, trying to understand our city and how we got here. In this perfect utopia we've created for ourselves, where money is meaningless and time is infinite, we've lost something. We have police departments and teachers and bakers and artists, but they're all missing our history and what traditions we had when men still died. That's opaque, I know, so let me explain clearly. Our city, our world, our livable space is not real. It was made by humans to inhabit by human minds. We don't know why we chose to live in cyberworld, but we know the choice was complete. There's no way out, and no one even contemplates that. But the world we made for ourselves was a utopia of human design. So of course, there are many flaws that we must fix from within. Lately, that has been my job. I go to municipal services and I teach about how those jobs worked in our old history, and how the procedures we've designed could be improved by learning from our past. My most recent project has been the most challenging. A police department located in northeastern corridor of Welvin, in the city we all live in and will never die in. The issue the police department faces is an old world problem with new world complications. They have what I think used to be considered a serial killer, but their criminal can't complete the act because people don't die here. People can feel pain, their bones can break, their eyes can gouge, but they always heal. The designers that built this place, we know so little about their thought process. And while most people don't discuss it, there are people like me who often wonder why they implemented systems like pain, guessing why God designed something as so problematic. But when God was just some programmer trying to build their version of utopia, logic can seem to make no sense at all. Even the founders, first humans to awake in our city, do not know why decisions were made. My mentor, a founder himself, once told me he thought pain, like many systems he argued, were built into our city to remind us that we're human. He said the designer's philosophy was to make humans as happy and as content as often as possible, but never the expense of what makes us human. We need consistent reminders of how we used to live in our old physical world. I think about him, my mentor, and his guiding theory on our world as I sip coffee across the street from the police. I know soon I'll have to argue with people who have been running a station for 400 years, who have only known how to run it their way. I have to tell them that to find the criminal, they'll need to look at how we used to catch the outdated term, a killer. Goes as poorly as expected. The chief, the one in charge, he tells me they can find their criminal without help from perspectives of the old world. In his defense, doing something for 4 centuries would probably instill the feeling that you're pretty good at it. And to his credit, he didn't dismiss me entirely. He simply sidelined me. You'll spend your time helping out at the station by first getting to know what we actually fucking do here, he said. I'm gonna have you follow Peter. He's been doing this job for 120 years. Get some idea of what we do. Then maybe we'll listen to your suggestions from the animals of your history readings. Peter didn't seem to be thrilled that I was going to be tailing him. But on that first car ride together, he actually expressed an interest in what I study. So these architects, these designers, why did they make the roads the way they did, huh? Peter asks. I mean, driving 20 minutes to get to a place where we could be at in 5 if the road was straight. Seems really poor design. I gave a nervous chuckle. I think you can say that about anything. Why are these apartment buildings that are automatically built when the population goes up? Why do you think they're placed where they do? Why aren't the apartments all the same, instead of nice ones and less nice ones? No one knows for sure why they built this place the way they did. We can only ever guess. So maybe they just like the idea of driving, says Peter. I guess that would explain why I'm on the road so often. If it makes you feel better, there's something from the old world called traffic, and people don't realize it, but we're lucky we don't have to deal with it. Traffic? Like moving? The opposite, actually. It's when the roads would have so many cars on them that the cars would just stop and couldn't move. That's insane, Peter says, taking real interest. How could you have a bunch of cars on the road and they're not going anywhere? Yeah, I nod. But after reading about it, I just wonder how they solved what seems to be a pretty common problem back then. I have a friend in school that actually wrote a report on how they thought the designers did it, but couldn't prove anything. What'd he say? She actually, but she argued roads built additional lanes all the time based on how many cars are on them. Peter puffs through his lips. That sounds not right. I think I would see the road getting wider. Yeah, that's what our mentor thought too. I don't know, it's been a while, but a report made some claim that we don't notice it because the extra lanes are hidden from view. It was very academic and not particularly provable, so... Well, if you go back to studying, you'll have some stories to tell people. Yeah? Where are we going anyway? Nobody ever told me. The chief will do that. Withhold information. Frankly, he's a bit ticked council sent somebody like you to our station. It wasn't my choice, I say. I know, Peter sighs. I don't blame you. But in the real world, our world, we got problems that historians from ages ago never had to deal with and definitely don't have any answers for. Today we're going to pick up Richard Matterson. What'd he do? Not sure, really. He just hasn't shown up for council-mandated study or municipal work in 3 years. Need to make sure he's still at the same residence. His apartment isn't being wasted, and then, well, if people haven't been heard from in a while, it's possible he either is or has been captured by our major criminal, you know. The one you're supposed to help us find? He hasn't shown up for work in 3 years, and you're just seeing him now? Designers made it so new apartments go up all the time. Police departments, not so much. Guess they didn't really think we need them as much as we do. I nod, and realize that while I may have studied how police worked in the old world, I didn't really have much idea how they worked in our new world now. Peter knocks on the 17th floor apartment several times to no answer. Mr. Matterson, he says, are you in there? No one has seen you in a while. You're not in much trouble. We just want to make sure everything is okay, and that someone is in this apartment. Can you please open up? It feels like a minute passes before the door slowly opens. Wedged between the door and the frame is a tall, skinny man. His visual aging had maxed out, so he looked around late 20s, early 30s. But inherent to our world is he could be any number of years old. Matterson is shaking and nervous. He looks distrustfully at Peter and barely even gives me a glance. "What do you want?" Matterson asks, agitated. Peter tries to peer into his apartment, but the dark lighting and flash of static on screen probably hinders his view. "We want to know why you haven't shown up to municipal services or school in 3 years. "I'm trying to be an artist," Matterson replies. He opens the door a little more to show paintings and instruments and video recorders. The look of Peter's face says he's seen something like this before. He pushes his foot forward, opening the door even more, and takes a step into Matterson's apartment. "Oh yeah? What type of artist?" "Just trying to figure out what I'm good at." 3 years? What have you found?" "I'm not sure. Some people like my painting, I think." "What you do in your own time is your business, Mr. Matterson. But you know the rules. You have to show up for school or service, and you can't avoid it. We'd like to take you back to our station so we can sign you up for duty for school." "Can you come with us?" Peter asks, and he walks further into the apartment, inspecting the unfinished projects and artistry littered about the apartment. Matterson looks frightened now, like Peter has told him something horrible. "Outside? I haven't been outside in a long time." "Has it been longer than 3 years, Mr. Matterson?" I ask, and he gives me a first real acknowledgement that I'm there. "You have lots of things it looks like you've worked on in your apartment. To do this in 3 years, that would be quite impressive." "Yes," Matterson says nervously. "I've worked in here for a long time, but only recently I haven't gone outside at all." "Recently, like 3 years ago?" Peter says, to no one particular as he continues to look through the unfinished projects. "I don't want to go. I'd really like for you to let me stay." "Can't do that, Mr. Matterson," Peter replies. "I'm sorry, but we can't. You'll have to come with us." I see now that Matterson is sweating, nervous about the idea of leaving his apartment, his building. I just can't," he murmurs, and in an instant he runs. He moves past the door and down the hallway and towards the stairs. I look to Peter, who doesn't even flinch. In no time, I turn down the hall, where I began to run too. I hear the echo of Peter's voice as I hit the stairwell. "You'll never catch him. Roof is on 20. At the stairwell, I'm only a few feet behind Matterson, but he's running like it could have somehow be for his life. It's the 20th floor and the door opens to the roof. Runs across the flat top of the building as I, still too far behind him. But at the edge of the roof, he slows, turns to me and yells, "What are you doing?" He looks at me. "I don't want to anymore. I don't want to talk about it," Matterson says. And he falls back from the ledge of the 20th floor. Look over the edge and see his body bend to the wind as he speeds up. In seconds, his body is smeared on the ground floor. I walk slowly back to the 17th floor where Peter still stands in Matterson's apartment. "Why didn't you go after him?" I said. Peter sighs. "First day, but you'll see that happens a lot. Come on, I gotta scrape his body and bring him back." A woman walking towards Matterson's building eyes Peter and me, picking up his guts and bits and brains, shoveling them into Peter's car. "It'll be cleaned up soon," Peter says, answering a question intercepted from the woman's eyes. The last bit's in the trunk. I get in the car with Peter and he's smiling. "What are you happy about?" "Not happy," he says. "I'm just thinking, wow, he's going to wake up in a lot of pain, you know." "Why didn't you chase after him or help me?" I asked, annoyed. "We could have stopped him from jumping. He didn't need to do that." "They always do that," he says, muted. "They always jump or cut or stab. and always to themselves. I don't know why. Just something about being locked inside for that long. I mean, did you notice not a lick of food in the apartment? Guy has lost so much touch with reality that probably hasn't eaten in 3 years. Too afraid to go outside. Sometimes a fall like that is a good reminder you're alive, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. I just stare at Peter for a moment before I realize how much more about this he knows than me. So what now? What happens? Never seen anybody have to recover from having their body blown apart like that. He should look mostly like Matterson we met in a few hours, as long as most of the body parts are together. They usually start forming back pretty quick. Trick is, gotta make sure to get most of the body, otherwise it takes a lot longer. I look back at the trunk and think about Matterson's body parts combining and forming to make a new man we saw. It'll hurt, Peter says. It'll hurt a lot. I don't think there is more painful recovery than coming back from having your body smashed on the road like that. But, this is probably for some good for him. You couldn't stay in that building forever. At some point, you gotta move on. Do your service, do your school. I mean, there's a reason council makes us volunteer. Otherwise, left to our own devices, long enough period of time, I think we might all end up like Matterson. Crazed, self-obsessed, trying to find meaning in paintings and pictures and writings and video. We need simple, basic things in our life, like work. I laughed a little and Peter asks, "What?" The old world used to have talks like that, I think. I mean, there's a lot of writing about it. Talk of what the purpose of life is and what happens if you have no purpose. I just never thought about it as a problem for us here in Welvin. We can all do what we want and have unlimited time to do it. Well, maybe that time and freedom is why people like Matterson go nuts, Peter says. Oh, come on, you sound like Strum. Chancellor Strum has some good points, and others agree too. It's because of him service or school are mandatory. He gets it. Left to our own devices and with nothing to motivate, we'll go crazy. My beliefs are that David Strum is a political disaster. I wave off Peter's point, and a few minutes later we arrive at the station. I'm helping Peter with the mangled mess in the trunk when I spot the chief. Hey you, advisor, historian, whatever the fuck you are. You get in here right now, the chief says. Go get it, Peter says, looking at the trunk. I think we should let him join up a little more before we move him away. I go inside the station and to the chief's office. Shock, standing there with the chief, is Counselor David Strum. He stands tall, long ago aging out, his appearance of 30. His presence in a standard police department catches me. I've only seen him on video. Bill, he says to me, acknowledging who I am. Bill, I'm sorry to butt in like this, as you advise on the whole criminal situation the station has, but I'm here on part of your mentor, Zachary Shine. I nod, confirming I know who he's talking about. Strum, who had been looking right at me since I entered the room, moved his eyes with precision to the chief. If you would, Bill and I need the room to ourselves. Strum's glaze stayed focused on the chief as the order is acknowledged, and he quickly gives us an office that has been his for 400 years. The innate charisma and power of David Strum's commanding is more powerful than person than it ever was in video. Bill, he says, I have some bad news. It's about your mentor, Zachary Shine. But before I continue, I need to express that this is a very sensitive information that is specifically for you only. Do you agree? Okay. I say, somewhat nervous and shy. The shock of Strum's presence before me still hasn't settled. Bill, your mentor Zachary Shine is dead. Strum says flatly. I don't understand. What do you mean, dead? Yes, it's an odd term, but I don't think there is a better word for it. He has no heartbeat, no brain activity. He's cold to the touch, By any reading of how dead was defined in the old world, he is dead. I know this is a shock, so take a moment if you need. But please keep in mind that how you feel right now is why this needs to be kept quiet. No one dies here. No one has ever died here. News of a death must not spread, lest it cause panic. Shock is right. My thinking slows, my skin tingles. I can hear my heart beat. Yeah, a panic, I muttered. Right, a panic. How did this happen? The council and myself believe this was done to him. What are you saying? Someone has figured out how to kill? Yeah, that's right. It's a good word for it, kill. We think there is someone out there that took to kill Zachary Shine. Why are you telling me this? Because the council and myself wanted your help. How could I possibly? He interrupts me. Because for 30 years he's been your mentor, Bill. You know him best. In Zachary Shine's more than 400 years, I know him best? I say with disbelief. He has no wife, no kids, no friends. As a founder, he doesn't even have parents. He's been a teacher for more than 100 years. But no one has stayed with him for as long as you, and as recently as you. If anyone knows who would want to kill Zachary Shine, it's you, Bill. I don't understand. What could you possibly want me to do? Strom perches his lips together and takes a few steps around the room. The chief here has told me that he partnered you here with an older cop, someone who has been on the job for more than 100 years. That's good. You can use him and his experience to help you find who did this to Zachary. You want me to tell Peter someone died? No, Strom says, looking down. You cannot tell him that. Chief said you two were looking for some sort of criminal that attacks people or tortures them. Is that right? I nod. Good. Tell Peter that's who you're trying to track. Chancellor, I appreciate you coming to tell me about Zachary, but even with Peter and my relationship with Shine, I don't know how I could help. I don't even know how I could start. I know it's a stressful moment, Bill, but you must think clearly. The council could only fathom one possible explanation. In my mind's panic, I calm enough to think of the only way someone's mind and feeling could be altered. You mean a glitch? Someone has found a glitch that doesn't get you high or numb, but a glitch that can kill? That's right. Most glitches get you high, stoned. They alter your perception and your feelings, but who knows? Maybe someone has found a more nefarious glitch. My ex-wife is a glitcher now, I say. She uses all the time. The council and I know this, Bill. We think it's all the more reason you're qualified to investigate. There's a moment of silence as I contemplate Strom's request. The whole time, he just stares right at me with a commanding gaze. Please, Bill, he says. Really, I know it's a lot at one time, but you really are in the best position to find out who did this. You know Zachary, you know glitchers, and today you probably made friends with a veteran cop. Heck, today you are a cop. I nod, scared for what's ahead, and turn to exit the chief's office. The door closes behind me, the realization of the enormity of what I just accepted takes over me.